Hi everyone. This project that you are watching now was originally published in November of 2019 as part of our Time Cross project. But we know more than we did back then due to the fact that we revisited this topic again in 2023 and 2024. So the commentary has changed. Let me explain. On August 10th, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein, the very wealthy and convicted sex offender, died in his cell in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, New York City. Now, that was the same place that they kept El Chapo when he was on trial before that, and it also briefly housed Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign manager, and a host of other exceptionally well-known offenders. That is a very secure jail that is used to housing people with very diverse histories. You would think that a place like that would keep these offenders safe and secure, at least while they are on trial or awaiting trial. But in this instance, Jeffrey Epstein died, and the New York City medical examiner ruled that the death was a suicide by hanging. To make things even more weird, 2 video cameras in front of Epstein's cell malfunctioned when the death occurred. If anything ever looks suspicious, Epstein's death is it. You see, Jeffrey Epstein was being charged with a very long list of sex offenses that potentially involved a very long list of very well-known and wealthy individuals, including political elite. And the theory was that when he came to trial, he might bring down many or all of those individuals along with himself. It could have potentially been the trial of the century, implicating so many of the rich and famous that it is hard to imagine. And then he dies by suicide in a correctional facility where such a thing should not be possible. It is a mystery if there ever was one. Did he really kill himself or was he murdered? That is the question. Well, hold on tight. The story is a bit complicated, but I can definitely say that we know what happened. But we have to address this mystery in 2 parts. What you are watching now is the first part, and it contains the keys of how much the authorities did to keep this from bringing the house down. What we release in 2024 is the second part, and that is where we tell you exactly what happened and how he died. Spoiler alert, he was murdered. But you need to see how it was done, so be patient as we lead you through the full story. We originally collected sessions from 3 remote viewers, Yeme Genet, formerly known as Princess Genet, Trudy Benjamin, and Kamaya Dunson. Each of the viewers worked solo and totally blind with this project, from the initial paper sessions to working live on video. Again, the viewers did not know that this project had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein, a death, a criminal investigation, or anything else. They only knew that there was a target, nothing else. And of course, they did not communicate among themselves regarding this project while they did their work. Now, these early data that we released back in 2019 show evidence of remote viewing tampering and mental blocking. You need to see this to know what was truly going on. I originally interpreted these data as supporting the idea that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, but that original interpretation was wrong. The reevaluation of the early data was done in early 2024 only after new data that fixed the mental blocking aspects were obtained. After you see these early sessions, I will return to explain exactly what happened, and I will encourage you to watch the new data being released as part of our Deep News project in 2024. But first, one step at a time. Here are the early, original data of the death of Jeffrey Epstein. Then I will return to tell you the details of what we believe really happened, and why these early data are the way they are. Hang on tight. You are about to learn a lot.
One 858-7176. I have structures and subjects here for my basic gestalts. Multiple structures, urban environment, very large, tall, solid, heavy structures, streets, many subjects inside and outside of the structures. This is a very busy city. It's very loud and noisy, lots of cars. I'm getting a large central structure here. Again, very, very heavy. And there appears to be subjects inside. Looks like the subject I'm seeing is wearing blue clothing, like maybe business attire. Can't quite tell. I'm hearing noises that sound like a helicopter. And there seems to be a central subject here in the midst of all the other subjects that I'm sensing. I want to move around the central structure just to get a better feel and look. I see large, high ceilings in different parts, in parts of the structure here. It's a very solid construction. Reminds me of a cathedral, church, fancy building type of thing. I'm seeing a main subject inside of this. Yeah, inside the structure, I'm sensing a main subject. He's got pale skin, Caucasian, but he seems to have a kind of a tone to it. So not pure Caucasian or pure white, but they have they have a brown hue within their skin as well. Emotions are very, very frantic. The subject is anxious. The man it feels like he's losing his mind. He's on his knees, chanting, praying, rocking. The dude seems off. He seems rather off. This feels spiritual, ritual, sacrificial like. I feel other persons nearby, but I can't see anyone. I don't see them, but as I'm focusing on this main subject and his surroundings, I can feel, I can't call them bodies, but I do feel other bodies, other energies, heat, coolness around him, and still hearing what I perceive to be prayers, whispers, talking, voices, murmurs, chanting, chattering. Maybe the other people are here in spirit form. I can't really tell. I don't really know where I am, but I feel a lot of energy around this central subject, like circling and hovering or watching. This is very odd. I've never seen anything like this. I want to move outside the structure to get a better look and feel of what I'm looking at here, like where I might be. And again, this really feels like it's got a lot of peaks, domes, tall, wide. It looks like a large church cathedral. I'm sensing, I was feeling and hearing and sensing the name Judas. So I guess that's what makes me feel like it's a spiritual thing. I'm not sure where the name came from, but I'm hearing it. I'm hearing the name Judas. It's a stone-like building, brick, very, very heavy. After getting a better feel, there's a lot of energy going on here with this central subject. So I'm going to move back towards him and see what's going on inside of this temple of some sort, a structure. This man seems to be alone. Something is happening. Something happens to this guy here. He seems to be all over the place internally. Internally, he's like if you're scatterbrained, you're scattermind, you're scattered internally, just like from head to toe. He's not together, like tingles, jumps, shaking, so much sweating. He's hot. He's afraid, scared, in denial. He's inside of this large structure. The sense of chanting, praying, talking. He's crying. He's bawling. He's in pain. He's bawling. He's crying. He's grateful and apologetic and terrified and scared. All of these different emotions. He's sweating a lot, like just pouring from his skin, his head. His just body is soaking wet. It's like he's hot fire. Burning smells. So much energy, burning smells. Fire, I can't really tell. He feels like he's surrounded by a ring of fire. I have a sense of a gate. Again, this feeling of a ritual, a spiritual, hoodoo, voodoo, you name it. The guy is going crazy, though. He's going crazy. The central subject has a lot of chaotic energy, like electricity flowing through his body, like body energy shaking, spazzing out, like, he's just not okay. He's spazzing. He feels, there's so much energy going through it's like electricity. It's just like it's burning and it's ripping the insides from his feet to it. It's just so much, like you could rip your skin off. Rocking back and forth. Physically, he's alone. This feels satanic almost. Like this is not good magic. This does not feel like good magic. This feels like bad magic. Odd. Something's crazy. Odd. It's not right here. I wish that I could show you with my body the movement I'm seeing from this man here. Like I said, physically he's alone, but as just all these other beings, energies around him, and he's moving, he's crawling, and almost like I can't do it standing up. I'm not getting he's like scooting and sliding like a caterpillar in the weirdest body, scrunching and then opening and scrunching and crawling and moving, and he's not contorting, but he might as well get ready to start. Moving to the target event, like something is happening here that's driving this man crazy. What is going on here? The target, there's something happening. This guy dies. He's dead. The subject dies, and he died terrified. He died afraid, alone, knelt over, fallen backwards, but like he's just like knelt over, displaced. He's displaced. He's fallen backwards, but on his knees, or it's just the most awkward positioning. Like he died worshiping whatever he was worshiping, or doing whatever he was doing, or pleading his case, like on his knees, and it was just like, nope. Screw you. Like he's gone. Like, just like that. Just all this traumatic energy and just, like X's in the eyes. He's dead. Wow. All this is a very uneasy feeling. And I don't want to be surrounded by this anymore, so I'm going to go now. It's creepy.
Today, I will be exploring target coordinates 65451146. Basic gestalts for this target is structures and land. There's multiple structures, sensing an urban environment. There's flat, level topography with water nearby, a large, imposing structure. Structure-like building. I'm sensing stones and rocks. And this large building has a metallic or metal feeling to it, dark metal. It's a very tall structure building. There's subjects nearby. There's many structures like a city. There's many nearby structures with leveled, flat topography, but I'm also sensing a central subject. The central subject is male, heavy set. He's wearing dark clothing, short to balding hair. I'm sensing intelligence. There's subjects inside of this structure, multiple subjects inside and outside of this structure. The central subject is heavy set. He's like balding hair, has facial hair as well. Orange to tannish skin tone. There's mentally something wrong, like a mental sickness, or before I was sensing intelligence. Now I'm continuing to think about his mental health. Like there's like he's mad or crazy or something's wrong, like he's sick. Around this structure, there's something like a fence or some sort of confinement. Like there's a high ceiling. There's lots of multiple rooms, locked rooms as well. I can't sense to get inside. Machines, electronics, different types of devices inside of each room. There's lots of furniture. There's different floors. Large, see, this is a large structure. There's a basement level as well. Some sort of like parking garage or something underground, like a basement. This central subject is, the height is, he's a bit short, heavy set, older age, like a muscular build. I would say heavy set, but it's more of a muscular build. Something mentally is really continuing to come to my forefront. I'm wondering about his mental health. The inside of this structure is long, dark hallways with locked doors. I'm really having a hard time opening them. But as this subject on the inside, there's a lot of frustration, mental frustration. The structure is old, dark metal, a lot of metallic feeling, like titanium. Ooh, let me deduct titanium. That's a big word. Right, so this is an old structure. There's lots of dark colored walls. The light is very dim. It's like gray, gray walls, multiple floors, lots of rooms. And this structure is very wide and tall, but the subject on the inside is slowly losing consciousness. I'm sensing danger and the main subject on the inside of this structure dies. He loses consciousness, but he dies alone. The subject on the inside of the structure is surrounded by other subjects in multiple other rooms, but he dies alone. No other subjects are with this, the main subject when he dies. There's mental sickness going on. During the time period, I'm sensing a lot of pain and frustration within his psyche, and his consciousness is no longer there. So this main subject in target coordinate 65451146 is dead.
Today we'll be exploring target 14882526. Okay. My basic gestalts here are subjects and structures. Okay. I've got, level topography here, and it's like a bunch of structures like all mashed together. It kind of reminds me of a city. And there's subjects everywhere. So I've got a lot of structures and I've got a lot of subjects. It just feels like a very urban environment here, city, man-made structures and subjects everywhere. Okay. I'm perceiving a central subject here, and it's a male subject, and he has like pale skin and like short hair, and very broad shoulders. There's other subjects nearby, but focusing on my central subject, he feels like he's like average height, average weight, short hair, medium build. I hear a lot of man-made noises, and all the other subjects here also feel male, very male prominent place. Okay, the energy around my central subject feels very like calm, and like the activity here is more mental than physical. It feels like everyone's pretty like high up off the ground, so it's like a very large structure here, and I've got all these subjects towards like the top of the structure, and they all seem to be like hanging out or like chilling. Basically, no one's really like doing anything here. It just seems like they're all kind of just sitting around inside this space. So this is kind of what I see. All right, so I've got, a bunch of structures here, a nice city in the background, and then this like very large, like big structure that all of my subjects are in, like my central subject is in. And, there's just other subjects kind of walking around in this city, I guess. And then I also pick up like some water nearby. So there's water near or around this city. And yeah, all my subjects are here. My central subject, all the male subjects are in here, and they all seem to be, from like here up. So I kind of drew them like in the windows. But yeah, flatland, city, subjects, that is what I see. Okay, and then for some reason I also hear something that sounds like music playing inside of here too, like a little humming, like radio or something. There's like slight faint music sounds. Going to move outside of the structure. Okay, I hear a lot of man-made sounds, a lot of foot traffic. It just sounds like subjects walking around everywhere, like roaring and stuff, moving structures I can see. And then also I just see this body of water here as well. It's very loud and it just feels like a busy city. Okay, the structures in this city also, they look very modern, it's like sleek and tall. They all seem to be like a cream color, whites, grays, I see. Kind of reminds me of like, like big cities like New York and stuff. Structures everywhere. And it just feels like nothing exciting is happening. Like I'm just in a city, I'm just walking around this city. Everyone's just doing them. I don't really hear or feel a lot of like activity going on, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna move back to the central subject. Okay, he feels very like deep and serious. And I hear like heavy footsteps, and I hear like deep voices, like big people walking around, like the SWAT team or something. Feels quiet and the energy feels very like just off-putting almost. And I just see this, pale-skinned guy. And when I probe him, I have like pain in my back and in my chest. And then it also feels just like I've got this pain in my back, right? And I got this pain, and it just feels like body aches. But it's also like, I feel like I'm breathing, like I'm struggling to breathe, like my subject is struggling to breathe, like he's in pain. He's in pain. Or somebody here is in pain. And it just feels very dark in this room. It's very hot in this room too. It feels like this room has no AC. Like it's very stuffy in here. Like, no AC, no windows. Hot and sad. It's hot and sad in here. Okay. Again, when I probe him, it feels like he's experiencing a lot of physical pain, but his mind is still going. Like his mind doesn't feel like I'm hurting, I'm in pain. His mind feels like he's still like determined, like he's got some sort of motive, MO, I get this feeling that like he feels like he's about to like be like liberated. You know, it feels like he sees light at the end of the tunnel. Like feeling like he's about to like escape this room or leave these people, escape whatever's going on in here. And I'm just feeling just like anxiety and depression all in one. It feels like he's like anxious for something, but like depressed that he's here, but like you cannot tell on his face. He looks like he's putting up a fight, like nothing's fazing him. Like deep down, of course, we all feel this like anxiety and depression and stuff like that. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. It's kind of like the feeling that I'm getting. Like he thinks he's not supposed to be here. So he's going through some stuff, but he knows that at the end of the day, he's not gonna have to put up with it for much longer. Yeah, this guy is a prisoner. He is a prisoner. He is definitely here against his will. And I get this feeling that just like, that there's someone else here. So either someone else is like physically in the room with him, or he's like manifested some sort of person. You know, I don't want to call it like an imaginary friend, but like kind of like that. It's like he's thought this person up, and so he's talking to this person, but it looks like he's just talking to himself. So he has like an imaginary friend. Sounds so weird to call it that, but like an imaginary friend. Because the person, like, the other subject doesn't feel like a concrete person. It just feels like thoughts and like thoughts happening outside of him. I can't describe it. It just feels so weird. I'm probing my subject, and you know, all those feelings that I felt earlier, the anxiety and depression and stuff, or like any emotions really, like I don't feel anymore. Like I feel like he dies or he's dead now. Like he doesn't feel like he's alive anymore. I don't feel anything coming from him. And when I probe him, I just feel this, again, tightness around my neck, like I'm struggling to breathe. Like I'm being choked or something, like he's being choked. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my subject's dead, like, and it feels like he, oh my gosh, it feels like he kills himself. And from just like all the pressure I feel around my throat, like he chokes himself, he hangs himself. And now I feel nothing. Yeah. That's all I have for target 14882526.
Friends, these Time Cross project data were published in November 2019, and it is now 2024 when I am recording this. My original analysis of these early data regarding the death of Jeffrey Epstein concluded that we had no evidence that he was murdered. I said that our evidence suggested that the idea of suicide seemed more likely. However, I now know that those early conclusions were wrong. Here are the essential points. First, our viewers in these early sessions did perceive others nearby Jeffrey Epstein around the time of his death. Yeme Genet, who at that time went by the name Princess Genet, perceived a number of other beings of some sort surrounding Epstein, at first physical but then more spiritual, possibly involving some sort of black magic stuff. It was confusing for her. Kamaya also perceived another person with Jeffrey Epstein, and she perceived Epstein talking with this person. She perceived this person at first to be physical, but then more like an invisible friend. As with Princess Genet, there, but also not there. Again, this is all weird. Now, Trudy Benjamin perceived multiple other subjects nearby, but she concluded that Epstein died alone. But she did not perceive him actually dying. So from these data alone, we don't know how he died, just that he eventually was dead and he was alone. But what was the situation 15 minutes before that? From these data alone, we just don't know. Here's the thing. With remote viewing, you only perceive what you look for. If you don't look for something, there is a high likelihood that you won't see it. So if any remote viewer says that they did a session and didn't see such and such, that doesn't prove that the thing was not there. If they are accurate in what they did perceive, then you can say that what they did perceive was probably at the target. But they cannot say anything about what they did not perceive unless they specifically looked for that thing and noted that it was not there. This is true for all remote viewing done by anyone, anywhere, regardless of the remote viewing methodology used. Now, in none of our early Jeffrey Epstein sessions did we specifically target the mechanism of death for Jeffrey Epstein. We only targeted Jeffrey Epstein and we got that he died. And at that time, he was alone. But none of our viewers saw exactly how he died or who was with him when he was dying, except for the seemingly invisible people perceived by Princess Genet and Kamaya Dunson. So given the fact that our viewers did perceive others in the room with Epstein, but Yeme Genet, Princess Genet, perceived those others as some sort of evil spiritual beings, and Kamaya Dunson perceived another subject as an imaginary friend who Jeffrey Epstein was talking with, and all of the viewers found him in a high state of panic as if he was being attacked, I have to state that this really does look like there was some external mental manipulation of the remote viewing results that was distorting their perceptions of the actual death event itself. That is, it seems like something was interfering with or blocking our viewers from seeing exactly what was happening to Jeffrey Epstein. Let me explain how this works. It is possible for remote viewers to be mentally led astray with their perceptions by trained external actors, and we do have procedures that can prevent this at Farsight. But we did not use those procedures with these early Epstein results. In the absence of such procedures, extraterrestrials can corrupt remote viewing data easily, and the group of extraterrestrials who we call the bad ETs unsuccessfully attempt this all the time with our viewers at Farsight. I say unsuccessfully because we normally use anti-blocking procedures whenever we do a project involving a target that might attract the attention of the bad ETs. Also, there are highly trained humans who work for the U.S. government who are capable at doing this, although they are probably not nearly as good at it as the bad ETs themselves, who can use technological enhancements. When this type of interference happens, the viewers working a project typically do perceive stuff, but some of the data come across as simply weird, with telltale signs including things such as invisible friends or black magic stuff. Again, at the time that we did this early project on the death of Jeffrey Epstein, we were not using our anti-blocking methods for those sessions. We do indeed have methods that can blast through any attempts by extraterrestrials or government operatives to corrupt our data, There is no known way to block us when we use those methods. Those methods employ the assistance of a group of extraterrestrials who we call the good ETs, and the methods essentially involve having an ET from that group use whatever methods that they have, including technological methods, to blast through the blocking attempts, and our remote viewers ride that consciousness like a carrier wave through to the target, encountering absolutely no interference of any kind. So when we collected the original data for the death of Jeffrey Epstein, there were signs that our viewers were being messed with, and in retrospect, I should have used the anti-blocking procedures when the viewers did that target. My bad. The full disclosure of what Jeffrey Epstein had done and whom he may have involved in his sex trafficking scheme could potentially disrupt the entire house of cards of governmental corruption. And whether or not everyone accepts the reality of remote viewing, the government and the so-called bad ETs who work with the government certainly know that remote viewing is real and that it can be highly effective when done by trained viewers working under very defendable blind conditions. So, in such a sensitive situation, they would want investigating remote viewers to be blocked, and they would definitely try to do that. When considering a situation such as this, it is important to examine all other elements that could lead to the consideration of official tampering with the remote viewing data. That is, if Epstein's death was of sufficient importance to involve the support of very senior governmental personnel and intelligence operatives such that they would authorize interference with remote viewing investigations, then there should be physical indicators that suggest that such things happened as well. So, what other elements could point to such a thing? Well, to start, here is what was said by officialdom and the mainstream media. Jeffrey Epstein was alone in his cell at the time of his death, since his cellmate had been transferred out the day before. The cameras facing his cell were mysteriously turned off at the time of his death, and the prison guards working on his level fell asleep, so they did not see anything. The guards were supposed to check on his cell every 30 minutes, which is what they normally did. There was a working camera that showed the entrance to that block of the prison, and that showed no one entering or leaving during the period of his death. That one camera's footage was used by many authorities to quickly dismiss the idea that Epstein was murdered, and the mainstream media published those ideas without hesitation. All of this seriously misstates what would actually have happened if Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. If Epstein's death was a murder, then this is what would have happened, and all of the serious people involved in officialdom would have known what I am about to tell you. Everything that I am going to state now would have been very routine and very easy to do if the death was an officially sanctioned murder. Moreover, this would have been standard practice for any intelligence operation involving an assassination in such a setting. First, the guards would have been slipped some drug in their food or beverage that would have put them to sleep. Second, someone on the inside would have turned off the cameras facing Epstein's cell. Third, the actual assassins would have been transferred into the cell block as prisoners on the day of the murder. There are prisoners going in and out of those cell blocks constantly during the day, and it would have been easy for the assassins to be placed as prisoners in nearby cells. The assassins would have been given keys to their cells, obviously, and at the appropriate time, the assassins would have used their keys to get out of their cells and to enter Epstein's cell. After killing Epstein, the assassins would have moved the body to make it look like a suicide, and they would have then returned to their cells, locking the doors along the way. Within a day or two, the assassins would have been transferred out of that block of cells and released from the prison. This would be why one camera that captured the hallway leading to the cell block would never have seen the assassins coming or going into that area of the prison. They were already in the cell block at the time of the murder, and they never had to enter or leave that area of the prison in a way that would have been picked up by one working camera. Again, officials dismissing the murder hypothesis based on that one camera's footage would have known that this is how a murder such as this would have been accomplished, including U.S. Attorney General William Barr. So having all of the official people dismiss the murder hypothesis based on that particular camera suggests that the official people could have been in on the cover-up. Either that, or they were incredibly naive and stupid, and when very senior people are involved, cover-up is much more credible than incredibly naive and stupid. So, if it was a murder, that is how it would have been done. With such high-level support for such an assassination, it is clear that the remote viewing data would need to be collected under very different conditions than the way the data for this Time Cross project were collected. The anti-blocking procedures would have been mandatory, and the viewers should have specifically looked at the actual death event as well, not just the outcome when his dead body was alone in his cell. So, in retrospect, I have long known that we would have to revisit this target, the death of Jeffrey Epstein, but I needed to wait for the right time. And when we did revisit it, I knew that we would have to use our anti-blocking methods just to be safe, and that we would have to specifically target the actual method of Epstein's death. It would not be enough simply to note that he died, and that when he was dead, he was alone. We would have to go back in time to when he was dying and to watch the process taking place. If you are now watching me say all this on camera, that means that the time finally arrived when I could reassign this target to our Farsight remote viewers using a more sophisticated experimental design, and that new data are available. So I hope you take the time to watch the new and updated results being published as part of our Deep News project in 2024. If you carefully study both these early and then the later results, you will learn a lot about remote viewing and the process and the methods that we use here at Farsight to ensure that what you see from us is accurate. It is not easy to do what we do, and I personally hope that people eventually appreciate all of the effort that goes into this. Stay ahead of the curve. Let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now.